Hello and welcome to Social Inclusion and Young Adolescents with Project Unify. It is August the 5th, 2015. It's Wednesday, and we're so excited to be here with you today to help, of course, as we try to reach and teach every student that we serve in the middle level. It's a great way for us to kick off the fall 2015 suite of webinars here at AMLE. So thanks to all these fine folks listed here, Andrea Kahn, Sue G., David Gonzalez, and Bill Schreiber. Just wonderful, wonderful people for adding this great content to our AMLE suite of webinars. So today's webinar is brought to you by AMLE and, of course, the support of great AMLE members like yourself. I'm Drew Tomlin, Director of Middle Level Services with AMLE, and with us today, of course, as you can see, Andrea Kahn, Sue G., David Gonzalez, and Bill Schreiber, wonderful people working with and for Project Unify, and of course with the wonderful students that they serve. So I want to thank them for being here this afternoon to share their knowledge and insights about Project Unify and how to make more socially inclusive schools in the middle level. And of course, this webinar wouldn't be possible without you, everyone in the audience who's joined us today, and everyone who's checking out the archived version as well. As you all know, all of our webinars are archived on the AMLE website for you to check out at any time. So, and as it says there beneath all those pictures, on Monday, August the 10th, we're going to keep this conversation going on Twitter. For those of you who tweet, it's a great professional learning resource. Our hashtag is going to be AMLE Web Chat. And what's going to happen on Monday the 10th is I'm going to launch one question, one brilliant, glowing question on that Monday, and you have the entire week to respond to it. So you have a long time to think and respond and retweet and reply and all that kind of good stuff. So please be a part of that hashtag and that conversation, because the learning doesn't just stop at 5 o'clock when we conclude today. All right, so we're going to launch a little poll right now to see who's out there in the audience. So get ready for that poll, and you should be seeing it right about now. All right, so take a moment to say who you are and what you do: teacher, administrator, counselor, central office, district, or other. All right. Okie doke. All right, we're going to close it up. 75% of you have voted, so I'm assuming that's all of you. Okay, so I'm going to close it out. We're going to share and see who's out there, and this is really interesting stuff, that 100% of people in the audience today are other. All right, so teachers, administrators, counselors, central office folks, I know it's a busy time of year, and I know they'll be checking out this webinar after it concludes so they can get all the information that they need from, and about Project Unify. All right, so we'll continue with the short introductions, and then we will get to the main part. Okay. So just as a reminder, we are AMLE. www.amle.org is our website, and this is what we do. We provide vision, knowledge, and resources to over 40,000 middle-level educators and leaders around the world. So we just reached the 40,000 member mark, and so if you know of anybody who's a middle grades teacher or leader or who works with young adolescents and they aren't a part of AMLE getting our great resources, spread the word and say, listen, you got to get involved with this AMLE thing because it's top shelf. All right. Also, before we get going, these are our upcoming webinars. So we've got on August the 10th, as you can see, every week we've got at least one webinar. So a lot of great stuff coming up. So you want to make sure that you join in, register, and of course be on the lookout for all that great stuff. So today's webinar, of course, we've done 40 years of research in the middle level and identified 16 characteristics that make up an effective middle school. And today's webinar reaches all 16 of those. It's very true. So under curriculum instruction and assessment, of course, effective middle schools ensure that all students' needs are being attended to. And of course, that's through the use of integrative curriculum and multiple learning approaches. So again, today's webinar is going to help us make that happen in our classrooms and schoolhouses. In terms of leadership and organization, we also believe that effective middle schools have leaders who are committed and knowledgeable about young adolescents, their exceptionalities, and meeting all of their needs. So this work takes leadership that is, of course, as it says there, courageous and collaborative. And today's webinar is going to help us with that as well. And last but not least, before we turn things over to Andrea, finally, for culture and community, an effective and an amazing middle grades program at school is safe, inclusive, and supportive. for all students. And when that happens, we all know it positively affects the school culture and climate. So initiatives like Project Unify help make that happen. So we're so happy to be joining them today for this great content. So without further ado, here to start us off the conversation about social inclusion and young adolescents is Andrea Kahn from Project Unify. All right, so Andrea, you ready?
I'm ready.
You are ready. All right, so I'm going to, using the powers of technology, give you the power. So here you go.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming everyone can see my screen.
Now we can, so you are good to go.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Drew. I'm really excited to be here. I am the Senior Director of the Special Olympics Unified Strategy for Schools and Youth that we call Project Unify. I'm also really excited to have with us a number of people from a variety of different areas in education to show how the social inclusion model of Project Unify works and has a benefit at all the levels of education that we work in. So you saw everybody's photograph a minute ago. We have Sue. She's the Executive Director of the Vermont Association of Middle Level Educators, and Bill Schreiber is the principal of a school in North Carolina, Granite Falls, and David Gonzalez is a superintendent for an entire school district, the Unified Independent School District of Laredo, I think that's right, in Texas. And I also just want to say, before we get started, a special congratulations to David, who was just recently selected among his peers to be the Special Olympics Texas outstanding, providing outstanding service from a community leader. He's really very tireless in his promotion of social inclusion, Project Unify, and the role that Special Olympics Unified Sports can play in a school. So that's who you'll be hearing from, a little bit from all the different aspects of education and how what we do fits in. Before we go into the details of how it works, though, I thought I would give you a little bit of background. We believe that what we're doing has really strong relevance, as Drew said, to all of the different characteristics of middle level education, and also really resonates with the early adolescent. For example, bullying is a big challenge for middle schools. In fact, we know that bullying is an especially grave problem at the middle school and early adolescence levels. In fact, most bullying does happen in the middle school. Some of the statistics show that middle schoolers in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades are almost just twice as likely to be bullied as other grade levels. The other thing we know is that students with disabilities report being bullied 2 to 3 times as often as students without disabilities. 9% of them say they've been bullied once a week or more. And other things that sometimes stem from bullying are mental health issues, and 40% of students who attempt suicide first try it as young as elementary or middle school. So we know that this is a really important problem for us to be facing, and I know educators across the country are dealing with this on a very consistent and concerted basis. We also know that there are other types of safety concerns and that are less violent, but they're just as harmful. Isolation and disengagement is really an important it's an important challenge for students, and we've done a lot of things to try and make sure that inclusion happens in schools, but it really isn't necessarily always happening. Full participation and acceptance of students with disabilities into what you would call the social fabric of the school is really an elusive thing. It's not easy to achieve, and we see so often that it's not really happening. Dropout and low attendance, these are trends that begin in middle school, according to the studies. And that's a really important thing to remember, because the CDC says that peer relationships is one of the 4 most important indicators of a positive health and being healthy, being mentally healthy and emotionally healthy for students. Only 10% of young people say that they have a classmate with an intellectual disability. Now, that may be true all the time, but their perceptions are that they are not engaged, that they are not being included with those students. And other studies show that students with intellectual disabilities spend only 17% of their school day with general education peers, and they participate far less in extracurricular activities like sports and clubs and other organizations than their peers without disabilities. The other thing, on the other side of it, studies also show that middle-level students are not willing to participate with in social activities with students who don't have intellectual, or who have intellectual disabilities, and that's another way that, in a way, it's a form of bullying when you're isolated and you're excluded. That's a very hurtful place to be. And then, of course, we've all read the statistics. We know that the obesity rates are on the rise, that inactivity is a challenge for everyone to overcome, and with less and less physical education and active activities in schools, our children are not as healthy as we would like. In fact, only 29% of students said that they were physically active at least 60 minutes a day on every day of the week, and 15% didn't participate in 60 minutes of physical activity on any day of the week. 15%, that's quite a high number, and more than half don't attend physical education classes at all on a weekly basis in their schools. The other thing that is horrible but true, and that is today's students actually have a shorter lifespan than the generation before them. So unless we turn things around, that's really not what we want our young people to look forward to in their futures. So our unified strategy responds to all of these challenges through the model and the format that we put together. These are challenges that we all care about. And we don't only care about them for students with intellectual disabilities. We care about these things because they affect all students. The bullying, the disengagement, the absence of social inclusion in schools, obesity and other health problems. Our program puts together lessons and activities that promote the understanding of differences, that promotes acceptance and inclusion. We provide youth leadership and advocacy opportunities and programs, and we do this through inclusive leadership, inclusive activities, inclusive projects and initiatives, so that students are working together side by side. These things actually showcase the ability for students to do things together, and they provide a window for many people into the opportunity beyond social inclusion, so that academic inclusion also increases when you provide these opportunities for students. The programming is designed for all students, so you get away from that challenge where you're compartmentalizing the different types of programs that you're offering your students. Unified sports is something we'll share a little bit more about, but it is a sports activity, can be done in a variety of sports, where students with and without disabilities are on the same teams playing with other similarly comprised teams, so that friendship and inclusion that happens on the playing field is something that that can really be amplified through the sports experience. And people become friends where they never thought they were able. Lives are changed, attitudes are changed. It's universal, almost universal in the reaction we hear from students about that impact. And we'll talk a little bit more about the impact later as well. So just to give you the sort of definition of what the Project Unify strategy is, It's a strategy that activates youth, it engages educators, and promotes school communities of acceptance and inclusion. So all the young people are not agents, are agents of change. And this is important. It's not a service model. This is something that's important to us because it's very hard to promote equality and the equal playing field when one group is in a service or volunteer mode to help the quote-unquote underserved or more disadvantaged student. This is an opportunity where everybody of all abilities is an equal, is considered an equal. Sports, this Unified Sports program is the foundation, and we offer other interventions, youth leadership programs, development of clubs, a variety of types of summits and advocacy programs that give young people the tools that they need to create that community of inclusion. Our studies show that we reduce bullying and exclusion, we promote healthy activities, we combat stereotypes, we eliminate hurtful language in the schools, and it engages young people in pro-social activities that we all care about that also lead to an improved school climate and have an impact on 21st century skill building and all these other things that are so important for us, for our students. I also just want to say that we think that this model is really relevant and useful to the middle level student. The needs of that age group to find their passion, to find their place, to find their role in the world, to be service oriented and to be included, that really resonates with this age group, and our program has proved really popular with that age group, as you will hear from the rest of our group here. The slide that I just put up where you see the sort of ripple effect, that's just a way of showing the way in which this works. If you have a club or you have a team and that's all you do, sometimes you're only impacting those few students, and that's a wonderful thing to do. But the Project Unify model also includes these students putting on whole school activities. So if you have a team, they're playing sports for the whole school, they're representing their school, and you bring fans in the stands and you get the whole school out. If a club is putting on an event where they're trying to promote understanding of the hurtful use of the R word, and they have a campaign to sign a pledge not to use the R word, it's for the whole school to be involved. It helps educate the whole school, and all the students understand that this is a priority for the school, that this is something that the entire school puts value in, and that makes a difference beyond their own personal experience to understand that that's the way, that's what's acceptable in the community. And so, with that, I think it's time for us to hear about some specific things that are going on in schools, and you can take my my philosophical big picture description of what this is and really hear how it's working. I'm going to turn it over to David Gonzalez, who is the superintendent in Laredo, and he's going to tell us what's happening there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrea, for that wonderful beginning, and we'll pass on the mic, pass the baton, if you will, to David. So, David, are you ready to roll?
Okay, I'm clicking here. Give me 1 second.
You got it.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
All right.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for giving us the opportunity just to go over what we've done at United ISD in Laredo, Texas. Andrew, I want to thank you also for the kind words in introducing me earlier.
All right, we're waiting. It still says, okay, so I just sent you the invitation, David, just to let you know, and all you have to do at this point is share your screen. So it should have a little icon that looks like a screen. There it goes. Perfect. Perfect. All right.
Is it there?
Yep, continue. Go ahead, bud. Appreciate it.
A little background on our district. We have almost 44,000 students, 43. We're hoping to get a few more this year. Our constituents recently approved a $408.7 million bond proposal in 2003 to build 7 additional elementaries, 4 new freshman annex. One of our present high schools does have a 9th grade campus, and we have about 4,400 students right now within those 2 buildings. We're going to build 3 more middle schools. UISD will have a total of 55 schools. And I just want to give you a little background on our district. We are probably the 24th largest district in Texas. And for clarification, I'm not the superintendent. I'm the associate superintendent. I oversee curriculum and instruction. Our goal in fostering... I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, I apologize, I missed that part.
That's not a problem. Our goal in fostering social inclusion, we value all our students and respecting each other's differences, access to participatory activities in the classroom, and on and off the field. The need to remove barriers, that's really, really important for us. Developing a sense of community for all our students, creating networks within each school. You know, our campuses, we always share what's going on in one campus, what works, what hasn't worked. Creating networks within each school and staff members. With our students, we have our parent involvement has increased tremendously. We're starting our fresh new dialogue focusing on tolerance, accepting, and respect. The representation of all students in school organizations with and without intellectual disabilities. There needs to be an absence of discrimination and prejudice. What I can tell you is that we've identified, the first thing we did, we identified the campus leaders at each of our middle schools, and of course we have 9 to spearhead the social inclusion. With the 9 middle schools, it was close to 10,000 students that we're dealing with. Each campus leader and designated campus administrator create opportunities for students to start the dialogue. Implementing what we call the Meet in the Middle, district-wide. And I can tell you we're the first district in the state of Texas to go district-wide, not just our middle school, but every single campus, participating in the Unify sports. We have to provide professional development for our campus leaders to ensure that the MIM principles are implemented correctly and as best that we can. To participating in all Special Olympic events. And it wasn't, you know, when I look at our project, it wasn't so much also to help our kids in the special units and our special needs students, but to help our other students. At UISD, and my vision is not so much about the 3 R's, but we got to teach our kids. We got to teach every single student, you know, particular acceptance with what we have in our society going on right now. It's critical. And what we decided, and my vision was, we looked at the librarian as the heart. The library to me is the heart of the school. As a former middle school principal, I can tell you that our librarians are beautiful people. Well, we do have awesome librarians. So each campus librarian and campus administrator are the MIM coordinators. PE and adaptive PE staff members ensure that all our students, members, are represented in all MIM activities. There's several campaigns. Obviously, the one that's very popular is Erase, the R word, and anti-bullying rallies are held at each campus. And what's wonderful is, as soon as we have an activity at one campus, they all want to share. They all want to take pictures. I mean, and we get emails, and our staff here at central office, we try to make as many functions as possible. We invite our community, our board members. It's something that is celebrated wholeheartedly by every single student at each campus. We have ample support and staff development sessions from obviously Martha Doran, our Director of Youth Initiatives for Special Olympics here in Texas. There's different activities highlighted, character development, leadership, teamwork. It's such a positive impact on the schools. I can tell you we've had our local newspaper, our media, has taken the ball with it. It's something that was very much needed in our community here in Laredo. All MIM activities are student-centered. There's a lot of youth ownership, and that's expected, and obviously we do encourage it. Something simple from having our special needs kids assist in making morning announcements, having representation in homecoming courts. Let me tell you, this past year, from the 9 schools, 5 of the homecoming queens were special needs students. And it's something that our students have embraced, becoming honorary dance team members, organizing and attending MIM monthly meetings, participating in Special Olympics. We have parades at the high school level, at every middle school, at our elementary schools. We plan and we host anti-bullying campaigns, conducting Spread the Word to Win the Word awareness rallies. And again, our students are part of our student council members. We've also started at the middle schools the National Junior Art Society. inducting our special needs students. Obviously, this is something that's very important to all of us. This class representatives for school pep rallies. When we go back to the rallies, from our campuses, we normally have the pep rallies for our athletes. But when our special needs students are having their Special Olympics competition, we have our pep rallies for them as well. They are included as well. We promote inclusion in all our campuses, and obviously we're emerging student leaders. Our immediate UISD goals to continue, including students of different abilities to participate every opportunity as equals, to engage students in advocacy and friendship, to have whole student awareness and participation to make new friends. And obviously that goes a long way. To create a community based on tolerance and acceptance, to respect, to host united competitions in a variety of sports, to continue promoting anti-bullying campaigns, to continue being MIM K-12 school district. Again, we are the first district in the state of Texas that has had this implemented. We're very proud of that, and I will tell you that we're very proud of that. And again, it is not so much about the 3 R's. Yes, we teach our kids, but I think more importantly, we got to teach the students, and we're very proud of that. Now, and part of my campaign, I am reaching out to Laredo YSD, smaller district, about 25,000 students. I'm planning to go to their board, and I know they're going to start out with 2 campuses this year. I'm trying to get them to go district-wide. When we started the Meet in the Middle campaign, it was 2 middle schools, one where I was from, Washington Middle School, and then we had another middle school. So when I came on board my different position, I will tell you I took advantage of it. Got support from my superintendent, board of trustees, presented to the board. And what I was told, if you can get support from me, so every single campus, it's a green light, David, and we had no problem at all. It's something that we're very proud of, and we encourage all districts across the country to do the same. We're all children of God, and we want to teach tolerance and to understand that the whole idea we're here on earth is to love one another, and that's really our message. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, David, for giving us that overview of everything that's going on at your school system. A great example and great content that people can take away and say, that's something that I need to do with my school system. So we'll save the Q&A. If anyone has any questions for David, you have a couple different ways that you can send them. One is you can send them in the chat box now, and I can pass them along to David. Or we can wait for the Q&A session at the end when everyone has a chance to do their individual parts. So at this time, we're going to send it on to Bill.
Thank you, Drew.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you. And Bill, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll, Drew.
All right, so I'm going to make you the presenter now. So get ready for that invitation and to show your screen.
Okay.
All right.
Get off my email here for a second and see if it pops back in.
No worries.
See my screen yet?
You see your screen, and we're just, whenever you want to do the PowerPoint, we're ready to go.
Okay, it's not popping in for some reason, Drew. Oh.
Not a problem.
How about if you run it and I'll just talk to it and you can flip the slides for me? How's that?
I will. I don't know that I have that PowerPoint in front of me, but what I can do, if you want, we can switch to Sue if Sue is ready, and then we can come back to you.
That's fine.
Sue, are you ready to go?
Drew,
Yes, ma'am.
if you'd like, I can run his slides for him while he's talking because I have them up.
Okay, is this Andrea?
Hang on.
Oh,
Yep.
hold on.
There they go.
There we go. We're good.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Let me
Appreciate
get it into display mode for you, Drew. I'm sorry. There
No,
we go.
it's fine. Appreciate your quick technology.
Okay. Sorry about the technology glitch. As Dave was saying, I really was very appreciative of hearing that his size district is doing the things they're doing. That's tremendous. We're a much smaller district in rural western North Carolina. We have about 12,000 total students, and we're just really kind of getting off the ground. Our middle school is probably the flagship for what's going on in our district right now. And as you can see by the slide, we have the same focus that everybody that's here today has, and that's that all people are agents of change. And I'll be meeting with my students here in just a couple of weeks. And we have a term, we get into 7 habits of highly effective students, and we like to work on one of those habits is seeking to understand first and then to be understood. So we ask our students to be reflective and constructive when they think about engaging students with intellectual disabilities. And we started this process a couple of years ago, and we've been very successful at getting our campus involved with this. Over a fifth of our campus is involved directly in Project Unify in the club, and everybody in the school building is aware of what our expectations are for doing that. Our Project Unify is composed of these four elements. Will be our focus this year. For the first time, we're really going to get into inclusive sports opportunities, and I'll talk about that in just a second. We've been heavily involved in the youth leadership piece and having our students not only present, but also to go out and learn from other students. And I think that's one of the powers here also. Not only do our students in regular education, but our students with intellectual disabilities can go out and learn from others also. Our whole school involvement is one of the big pieces, and of course our community connections. From the unified sports piece, we're going to start out simply, we've been given and got a hold of some disc golf set up, and we're going to have our first competitive short course disc golf with all of our students this year, and I'm really looking forward to that as being an opportunity to really engage our students in some of the physical activity. Also, we've changed our schedule around this year. Our students have always been involved, but we wanted to get every student in the building involved in sports every day, so we've modified our schedule so that all 630 students in the school building will be doing a PE piece every day. So we're really excited about the opportunity for our kids to have more opportunities for engagement and to not be separated from their peers. And one of the areas that they always have fun with is in the sports area. And we're going to have a competitive class where the students get together in a club atmosphere for competition. And as you've heard David talk about, we also have our students that are involved in all of the regular sporting activities. I have students in band, in chorus, and the students all complement what's going on within every one of our competitive areas. We have seminar opportunities that occur on a weekly basis, and our students will participate in those. Inclusive activities are fun, informative. We do a lot of education as far as bullying and all of our concerns related to that. That all happens in this weekly environment, and it's a great opportunity for our students to share with each other and to get involved. As far as youth leadership goes, we have youth coaches and youth volunteers, our games management team members. Virtually every competitive sport that we have has at least one or two students with intellectual disabilities that are on the game management teams. We have actually had one student that played football, regular football, and that student was deaf. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for our students to get in and work on those things. Our buddy club members, all of our students in Project Unify, they volunteer to be what we refer to as buddy club members. And as students go throughout the school building, our students, when they first come up from elementary school, have led a pretty sheltered life, but by the time they work their way through our middle school, we really try to give an independence to our students with intellectual disabilities. And occasionally they'll get lost or get stuck on something, and our buddy club members are always on the lookout to try and help our students with that. They have lunch with them. They'll go to sporting events. They go to dances together, those kind of things. So we try very hard to include our students with intellectual disabilities in everything that occurs at our school. And, of course, student council. The whole school involvement, getting into an R-word campaign, I think those are things, if you're familiar with Project Unify, you're familiar with those kind of things. We do a pep rally for all of our sporting events, and our students will lead those pep rallies. In addition to, prior to our spring and winter Special Olympics, the entire school will shut down for about an hour, and we'll parade the athletes through the halls. We'll have a celebration with them. We'll get them on the buses and head on over, and we have a great time. That's always one of the highlights of the school year with regard to the sporting events. We just did our first 5K fundraiser this past spring with students participating in that, and that worked out really well. The polar plunge is also another popular thing. I'm not so sure a lot of folks want to do that, but that's a popular thing for us. Now, on the Spirit Days, not only do we dress up and have fun on the Spirit Days, we use those as educational opportunities where our students get to read and write and learn different things about. Last year it was superheroes, and I'm sure this year our teachers will have another fun activity set up for that. Our community connections are really strong. We get to go out and take students out to visit group homes, interactive and volunteerism. This is a picture of one of our December Christmas parade. Our students will get out and they actually decorated that tree. That was students with intellectual disabilities did that for us. Tremendous family involvement opportunities, and the community that supports us is superior. I couldn't. Every time I go out to ask for something, I always have somebody that will step up and volunteer. And not only will they volunteer, but they'll also be happy to participate in what we do. What has that done? What has Project Unify done for us? We've had a noted decrease in our bullying. Harassment and intimidations. I think I told a story to you before, Drew, about a young lady that witnessed a couple of adults that were picking with each other, and the lady came up to me and she came right to me and said, "Mr. Schreiber, you need to deal with this right now." Da, 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 da. Well, these guys are lifelong friends, and they did that stuff all the time. But it was really satisfying to me that the things that we teach our students about harassment, bullying, intimidation to adults, not students, but adults, that she was willing to address that immediately. So we're having success there. The acceptance is great across the school building and across the district. I think we're doing tremendous with that. Great friendships are built. I was just talking with a student that's in 11th grade now and talking about how he's matured and grown and how they've accepted him for what he is with autism and other things like that. So it's really great to see those kind of things work and be successful. Probably one of my favorite things is our inclusion settings. We've had students that come to our school regularly that have been in isolation for a long time. We push them and get them out into inclusive settings and build on their strengths, identifying the strengths and kind of peeling the onion back with the students that have these disabilities has been very rewarding for our teachers, and the success is tremendous. Students that didn't know they could do things are all of a sudden reading and writing and doing things that they were capable of all along, but we had to kind of figure out how to get there. I had to do a little non-traditional learning, hands-on, some different tools, and you figure them out, and that's tremendous. And of course, all of our students are agents of change instead of the teachers, administrators, and that's probably my biggest and happiest moment with things that are going on in Granite Falls. And I think that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Bill. Another great insight into another school and school system doing wonderful things with Project Unify. Sue with the Vermont Association for Middle Level Education is up next to bat. So, Sue, are you ready to go?
I am.
All right, so I'm going to make you the main presenter, and away we go. So you'll be getting the invitation, and then you have to share your screen. All right, so you should have gotten the invitation.
Okay.
And then you should have a little screen icon. And there you go. You are ready to roll. All you have to do is put it in slideshow presentation mode, and we'll be able to see it.
Now, is that it?
You can go to slideshow, where it says slideshow, up at the top toolbar.
Yes. Okay, got it.
And go from current slide. All right, so are you there?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. You can go ahead and get going. You can go ahead and get rolling with the current slide mode that you're in, or you can go to slideshow, either way.
I'm just wondering how I move forward. I don't see the arrow to move forward.
If you want to, with each of these slides that you see in front of you, slide 23, you can just use your up and down arrow on your keyboard to advance the slides that way if you'd like.
Got it. I see. Great. Okay. I'm Sue Gee. I am the Executive Director of the Vermont Association for Middle Level Education. This is a statewide organization in Vermont that does pretty much the same thing that AMLE does on the national level. We try to provide 85 schools that are now members of the organization with supporting programs and practices for early adolescence. And because we have so many different configurations in Vermont, middle school is not actually a building as much as it is grades 5 through 8 wherever they exist. So that's just a little background on the organization. We had been fairly inactive in recent years in terms of an annual conference, But about 4 years ago, we decided that we would try to get back into holding a conference, that we would have a themed approach. And the themed approach has worked really well. It just so happened that the state had updated its legislation on the prevention of bullying about in 2013, and all schools had to institute and redo their policies on bullying and harassment. So we tapped into that timely endeavor and decided to do a themed approach for the next 3 or 4 years on the creation of an end to bullying, which we also saw as a change in school culture. So this is the flyer from the first year of the first conference after many years of not doing one. And we tried to get at educators for this particular conference. Our keynote speaker was a nationally known speaker on bullying, and he is someone who is a Vermonter, so he was very well received. We also then had workshops on the use of literature to open up discussion and awareness of bullying. We had theater in action for social justice, and we had a focus on the law because it was getting redone. As we wrapped up the conference, we invited a panel of students from a small middle school outside of Burlington, Vermont, and this was a group of students who were part of a school culture that had been changed with a combination of various programs. One was PBIS, the other was sort of a responsive classroom approach, where they used circles of power every morning to meet with small groups of students so that every day had a positive start to it.
And Sue, I'm gonna give you a hand here with the slides. You're still going to be presenting and talking, but I'm going to make Andrea the main presenter so we can make sure that your slides advance. So she's going to be advancing your slides, okay?
Okay. Yes. Because I did just use my arrow and it went ahead.
Okay, we're stuck on slide 23, so no worries. I'm going to make Andrea the main presenter.
Oh, okay.
So Andrea, here come you're now the main presenter. But Sue, you keep on rolling as soon as I give you the cue to do so. Andrea, you there? Okay.
Sorry, I got it now.
Okay, cool. All right, so Sue, go ahead. You can hopefully see what Andrea is showing, and you just need to tell her when to advance the slide.
I'm not sure. I see my slides, but I don't see anything else.
Okay, go ahead and you were just talking about the second annual VIMLY conference.
Yeah, so the second one is called Beyond Bullying.
Okay.
The first one was authentic practices for ending bullying, and then the next year we went on to Beyond Bullying, where we really did state that we were creating a culture. We want to create a culture of respect in our schools, which would include socially inclusive, safe schools that honor all students. And since the student panel that we had from Virgins Middle School was so successful at the end of our first year conference, we decided to focus on student teams rather than educators. So we invited schools to bring teams of 4 or 5 students and 1 educator. Could be a teacher, principal, guidance counselor, librarian, someone, the student assistance counselor, anyone who was interested and willing to work with a small group of students who could lead the work on forming an action plan. So here's just the flyer for the second year showing you the workshops that we had. Now, something happened right before this second year. I attended the AMLE conference, and I went to a lunchtime presentation of Project Unify. And this was a play that was presented by a group of students who were from Minnesota. And their play was called It's My School Too. And it was so enjoyable, and the students were they just had so much fun. And then there were two speakers, Danielle Liebel and her partner, who was a typical student. So there was a student, Danielle had cerebral palsy, and her friend who was without special needs. And they talked back and forth in this presentation in such a way that I was sold on Project Unify. I came back to Vermont. I shared this information with the board of directors of VAMLE, and we decided that we would really focus on inclusion. And Project Unify had a director named Michelle Gates, who I got in touch with, had a meeting with, and since that time, Project Unify is a partner with VAMLE in our conferences. So we've been very honored to be part of the Project Unify partnership, and the schools around Vermont, there are 40-some schools now that have Project Unify. Every year they find out by coming to our conference a bit more about youth leadership for inclusive schools. So we can go on to the next slide. Every group of students, every team, after they attend the workshops, the breakout workshops, and you could see that there was mindfulness, there was sportsmanship, there were all the things that we thought would provide them with ideas and strategies to bring back to their school if one particular area hit them. So this was an action planning tool that every student got, and at the end of the conference, we had the teams work together on identifying a question or an issue, identifying a goal, generating some possible solutions, and trying to develop some action steps, and then what they thought they were going to need for resources and support. So let's go on to the next slide, Andrea, which is showing you a sample of what the student teams went back to their schools with. Moving right along, at lunchtime, we also did the pledge. The pledge, as all of you have mentioned, spread the word to end the word, was really popular. Project Unify supplied bracelets for everyone who signed the pledge, and they did a lunchtime presentation on what it meant. What does it mean to end the R word and use respect in terms of increasing more positive language in the whole school for safe, inclusive practices. We can move on. This shows our peer leaders. We had student workshops that were as much as possible led by educators and students. And another partner we have is a World of Difference Institute, which is part of the Anti-Defamation League. And they also have schools in Vermont where they train students to be peer leaders. So this was a workshop that was happening for the entire room. We had 165 students in our second workshop. And then last year we had 245. So each year we've increased the number of schools and the number of teams. And the students are so poised and do a wonderful job of leading their peers, which we sometimes think that they're not responsible enough to do this sort of thing. But as Bill said, students as agents of change is what we were focusing on. So let's move right along. Here is a sample, here is our agenda, actually, of last year's conference. Our keynote presentation was extremely powerful, which was Lyda Winfield, who is a dancer and spoken word artist. She's nationally and internationally performing various movement presentations. This one that she did for us was called In Search of Air, Growing Up Dyslexic. And her, we had 245 students and educators in a large ballroom at the University of Vermont, and honestly, you could have heard a pin drop. Everyone was totally mesmerized by Lyda's presentation, and many students wrote in their exit interview sheets that they didn't know about dyslexia. They didn't know that there were children who couldn't read or couldn't learn to read, because as Lyda made clear, she didn't really learn to read until she was in her 20s, having gone through public education, even with special help. So it was eye-opening. And here is the description of the summer Dear Cyber Ally, Why Say It Online, which was very popular with the World of Difference Institute, and then the signing of the pledge, and then the action plan work. And at the end of that day, we had a presentation by Barry City Elementary, who brought their action plan from 2014 to the conference and had a video whereby not only did they have a school-wide campaign, which the students described and showed a video of, but they also had a band come from Connecticut who helped them create a school-wide song, and all the students were shown out on the field in the shape of a heart singing this school-wide song about an end to bullying. It was quite moving. So this again was totally student organized, and something that we are so proud of in doing these conferences, because it shows that middle school students are very capable of being activists, and the grassroots from the ground up, when they go back to their schools, they're so enthusiastic about this work that they truly do want to stomp out bullying and have a kindness change of culture. So the next slide just is a picture of everybody sort of kibitzing at the end of the conference last year, and shows, how much fun. It was fun because there aren't many opportunities in Vermont for students to come together for a full day and meet students from other schools, middle schools. So they tend to do that more in Vermont with high school kids, with student council and other activities. So we're just really grateful. You can see the little clipboards that Project Unify Special Olympics donated for our work that day. And I would just say, in summarizing, that the students leading workshops was probably the most powerful thing in 2015. Previous years we had educators or presenters. In this last year, we had groups of students with their teacher or principal actually leading some of the workshops, and the topics were generated by them. So we're moving on to 2016 with our plans, and we're really using the theme of social inclusion to create this culture of respect and a safe school environment. And we have been very successful in increasing the number of schools that participate, and some schools are coming back each year and bringing more than one team. So The only thing left to learn is how to find out more about how the action plans are being implemented. And we've tried to do that online without success, but we're still working on it. And that concludes my presentation. So I think we're going back to Andrea.
That's correct. All right, Andrea, thanks for, go ahead and take it away. It's your
slide. Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you very much. I just want to say that Special Olympics Vermont and Special Olympics North Carolina and Special Olympics Texas are very excited to be partners with all of you in all of these different ways. And I think it's very clear that the Project Unify model looks different depending on where you are, depending on the school district, depending on the specific objectives, needs, and programming that the state or school district or individual school decides is most important. But we're very flexible. One of the things that we've learned, and I think probably folks don't consider Special Olympics to be a partner to collaborate with educators, but over the 7 years that we've been doing Project Unify now in schools, we have learned how to be better partners with schools, and we really believe that what we offer and our programming is can be so important and so helpful and so powerful in schools. I also want to mention, I'm going to share some data with you. We have so much data and evidence about how this is working. This is just a teeny little bit of the information that we have. We're very committed to making sure that our activities and programming is evidence-based, that we do the evaluation and the research to make sure that our practices are steeped in the pedagogy that is appropriate for the different age levels and the different types of activities. And we're always continuing to do more and look at more. And that's been very important to us. What I'm going to share with you as far as the data is our most recent school year, which was the year before this past school year. Our 2014-2015 school year data is still being reviewed and analyzed, and we don't have that final report yet. We will in the next few months. But our data has been consistent. What we found over the last 3 to 4 years has been very consistent, and we've revalidated it over and over again. We're currently in a little over 3,500 schools, and at the end of this next school year, we expect to be in 4,600 schools. We're in 45 states, the District of Columbia, and in that 2013-2014 school year, our numbers showed that 3.6 million young people were exposed to some sort of socially inclusive activity in their schools through Project Unify. 125,000 students involved in our Unified Sports program as students with intellectual disabilities or students without intellectual disabilities. And the inclusive leadership opportunities in clubs and through the state level youth activation committees that we have, 77,000 real leadership opportunities were provided to students. And this is just what happens in one school year. We've been doing this for 7 years. We believe that the total number of student experiences that we've provided over the past 6 years is more than 6 million. So that's we think we're making a dent. We think we're having an influence. But it's not only about our specific programming. It's about the way in which we can communicate with schools, become partners. And as you can see, schools and school districts can come up with all kinds of ways to manifest this concept. We just believe it's so important to provide these inclusive youth leadership opportunities for students to have the opportunity to be teammates on the playing field together and really learn about each other's strengths, and that's where you're really going to see the impact. So in that 2013-2014 year, we did surveys in 1,500 schools, and this data is consistent with the prior years. But 3/4 of the school liaisons, that's the person we work with in the school, report that Special Olympics Unified Strategy or Project Unify is helping to raise awareness about the students who have disabilities and increasing opportunities for students to work together. So you remember those statistics in the early part where students didn't even think they were in the same classrooms together? This is really a profound difference. More than half of the school liaisons also say that we're helping to create a more inclusive school environment or improving the school climate. And nearly 3/4 say that it's made a big difference in increasing the confidence of the students with disabilities. So that we're definitely hitting our objectives here. And this quote here by a student, I've heard almost the exact same thing over and over and over and over again from students. That before they were involved in Project Unify, they didn't even acknowledge the students with disabilities, and now they're becoming friends. People say they were worried and a little bit scared about what this meant about getting involved with students with disabilities, but afterwards they realized that they can be best friends together, that they're the same, that they have equal and similar interests, and they never want to turn back. We also do surveys of students, and in that 2013-2014 year, we surveyed almost 4,000 students, and the impact that they report on their own personal attitudes is, to me, profound. 84% say that participating in Special Olympics was a positive, was a turning point in their lives, and that it changed their plans for the future. So many of the students that get involved with us decide that they want to be involved in special education or be involved in adapted sports. Another really strong number of students say that they learn about helping others, all these pro-social skills that are so important. And I think both David and Bill mentioned about how much what this does really resonates with the values they're trying to teach their students. Sharing responsibility, patience, and compromise. And we all know that this is what our students need in order to be workforce ready. 2/3 of the students said that they learn they have things in common with their peers with disabilities, and that's what I was saying before. They just are becoming friends and learning how to get along with people who are different in the world, and learning that differences do not have to mean separation and isolation. Almost all, I think we get a 98 or 99% of students and liaisons say that it was successful and they would like it to happen in the following school year. The only thing that gets in the way of the continuation of Project Unify in schools is when the teacher leaves and there's a new principal who's not aware of it, or some other kind of logistical thing gets in the way of the continuing activity. And how can you get involved if you're not already? We have a very robust and intricate and developed network of Special Olympics programs in every state. So because we have a slightly adapted model in different states, we like to make sure that our schools are connecting in with their state programs. So you can reach out to us, or you can reach out to your state program. Pretty much every state in the country is doing Project Unify and doing unified sports in schools now. And so that is, if you're interested, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. And I can share my email address, or I don't know if you want to put it in the chat, Drew, but if anybody wants to reach out to me for further information about any of the impact data that we have, or all of the abundance of resources that we have available to help developing the sports program, the clubs, the youth leadership materials and activities, templates and samples. We have the script of the play that Sue mentioned. It's our school too. There's just a wealth of materials, examples, and best practices that we can make available to anybody who'd like to introduce this in their schools.
All right.
That's it.
Well, Andre, that was...
going a little over,
No, listen, that's the kind of information that people need. You know, they need the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So thank you for your very thorough, and what I loved, obviously, not only hearing from you, but hearing from our entire panel of how you can make Project Unify have such a positive impact in an entire school system, at a specific school, and then in terms of a conference presence as well. So we saw the benefit at AMLE when Project Unify was a part of our conference in 2013 in Minneapolis, but clearly Sue Gee spoke to its impact in Vermont as well at their conference. So just really super, super great stuff. I'm going to give myself back the control super quick as we close out. So one quick second. All right. So again, just I know I've already said it, but just great resources, great ideas, and information that's going to help every student grow and help us grow professionally and create great schools in the middle level. Thanks to everyone on the panel for your time and effort and your expertise. And, of course, much appreciation to everyone out there who joined us this afternoon. And, again, this entire webinar is going to be archived on our website by this Friday. So anyone who was not here presently live, but you know that they needed to see this webinar, please point them towards our webinar and towards this webinar, and they can watch it archived by Friday. All right, so or you can check it out again if you enjoyed it so much the first time and you just couldn't get enough, or you need to hear once again some of these great ideas. Come back and listen to the archived version of the webinar. So just as a reminder, upcoming webinars, August 10th, 12th, 26th, and September 2nd. A great way to kick off your school year with professional learning. So whether you're trying to get professional learning units or credits or however they're called in your school system, this is a great way to get some quick online learning, some accessible learning that you can get participation credit for. So, and in fact, just by attending this webinar and any AMLE webinar, you automatically get a certificate of participation from AMLE. So you can print it out, send it to your professional development personnel director, whoever that person is, and say, listen, this is what I'm doing to continue to grow as a middle level educator. All right. So before we close, there it is. Thank you. Just special thanks to Andrea, Sue, David, and Bill. We know you all are so busy and everything. So taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us this afternoon and sharing your passion and your expertise and your experience with Project Unify. Thank you so much. And anyone out there who has a question for our panel, you have a couple different ways. Before we conclude, you can either type your question into the chat box, or if you want to ask your question on air, you can just hit the little hand icon on your toolbar, and that will notify me that you have a question, and then I'll unmute your microphone, and then you can actually ask that question live to anyone on the panel. All right, so again, I'll check the chat box for any other questions or any hands that go up. All right, so let me check that right now. Okay. I'm not seeing anything right off the bat. But you know, I'll speak to my own experience. This is way before Project Unify's days, but the concept was there and the impact was evident. That when I was a fledgling high school wrestler back in North Carolina, Lejeune High School, go Devil Pups, and one of the wrestlers on our team was both deaf and blind, and I wrestled against him, and not only did that experience teach me about wrestling and teaching me about inclusion and athletics and everything like that from a sports perspective, but it also, just gave me an appreciation for everyone's abilities to do anything that they wanted to do. It was a great experience, and I look back upon that experience in high school quite fondly. So there you go, just from a little personal standpoint. Anybody out there in the audience that has a question, feel free to ask. If not, then in the next minute or so, we are going to close up shop, if that's all right. Any parting words from anybody on the panel for the good of the group? Any final words for our audience or for anyone checking out the archived edition? Okay, I'll take take that as a no. And that's all right. All right, well, for the sake of everyone's time and the rest of your evening or wherever you are, maybe it's morning, I'm not sure. Maybe you're on another part of the globe. But thank you so much for attending this webinar here at AMLE, the Association for Middle Level Education. And again, we want to thank our friends at Project Unify and everyone on the panel this afternoon who shared this great content and how to make our schools more inclusive in the middle level. At schools and school systems, and again with conferences, giving students voice and celebrating all of our students in the middle level. So thank you again. Keep on raising the praise for the middle level here at AMLA, where we help you reach every student, grow professionally, and create great schools. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Drew.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Drew. You take care.
Bye.
See you in October.
Sounds great. October, that's right. AMLE 2015, Columbus, Ohio.